There are two aspects to any foreign policy. There is the morality of the policy, then there is the practical side of its effect on our national interests. I believe the Bush policy is a failure on both counts. It was morally wrong to invade a country that had not attacked us. It was morally wrong to invade a country that has no links at all to Al-Qaeda. It was morally wrong to deliberately and maliciously distort intelligence to try and convince the American people to support the war because Saddam Hussein allegedly had weapons of mass destruction. As a practical issue, this war is weakening our country and making us more vulnerable, not less, to terrorism. As I said in my floor speech on April 26th, while Bush and the members of his administration often claim that their critics don't understand how the world changed on 9/11, the evidence mounts that it is actually Bush and his aides who failed to grasp the new world situation. I know some of you saw that speech on PCN, but I believe some of the points bear repeating here tonight. Keep in mind that this was a war started by two draft dodgers. Cheney didn't want to serve in the military because he had other priorities. And Bush joined the National Guard in an era when it did not resemble in any way the fighting force that it is today. And even with that, he was absent from his Guard outfit a lot of time anyway. Their ill-advised invasion of Iraq and the mismanagement of the early days of the occupation, when we could have kept insurgency from taking hold, demonstrate that Bush and his administration lacked any comprehension of post-9/11 strategic military concepts or geopolitical realities. One man has made this case most effectively is James Webb, who was the Secretary of the Navy in the administration of Ronald Reagan. Webb is a Naval Academy graduate and decorated combat Marine officer in Vietnam. Among the awards he earned, there are the Navy Cross, the Silver Medal, 2 Bronze Stars, and 2 Purple Hearts. He later served as an instructor at the United States Marine Corps Officer Candidate School. So he is a man with credentials on this subject. I should also note that he was a Republican who backed George Bush for president in the year 2000. But because of Bush's policies, including the Iraqi invasion, Webb has now switched parties and is running for the United States Senate in Virginia as a Democrat. In an interview several months ago on national television, Webb pointed out to Chris Matthews that we squandered an historic opportunity after 9/11 to bring most of the nations of the world with us in a war against international terrorism. Instead, we went off on our own, with just Britain and a few small countries supporting us, to attack a dictator who had nothing to do with 9/11, but who Cheney and Rumsfeld wanted to remove as part of what they considered unfinished business from the first Gulf War a decade earlier. In Webb's words, and I quote, "We alienated allies almost deliberately, and we went after a situation that had existed pre-9/11. There is a lot of talk among the people who brought us into this war saying that the world changed after 9/11. My view is that it changed in a way differently than they are saying, that the problem of international terrorism grew from regional to international rather than vice versa. And the worst thing we could have done strategically would have been to go into one country that was not directly threatening us and occupy it." End of quote. Of course, George Bush first argued that we had to go into Iraq because they had weapons of mass destruction. When the world found out that wasn't true, he flip-flopped and said it's a good thing we went into Iraq because Saddam Hussein was a brutal dictator who had to be removed. Webb, however, disputes that removing Saddam was essential. He believes we would have been better off using our military mostly to go after Al-Qaeda bin Laden, and that we could have kept Iraq in check. Webb said again, and I quote, "We could have contained Saddam Hussein. The greatest military victory of the last 80 years was the Cold War, where we contained an expansionist nation, wore them down without a large loss of life." I mean, Saddam was approaching 70 at the time we went in, and he was pretty well beaten down. We could have done that, focused on international terrorism. I wrote a piece on this very early, right after 9/11, about how to fight international terrorism, and one of the paragraphs in there was, "Do not occupy territory." This is a military general. "Do not allow yourself to become a target rather than a mobile apparatus for going after them." End of quote. Instead, the Bush administration has made our soldiers exactly that, a target, bogged down and trapped in a war that has no end in sight. Instead of our using our military to smartly go after al-Qaeda and to destroy terrorists, we send our soldiers to Iraq, where they are being ambushed and shot at, and where we have created a climate that is breeding terrorism instead of eliminating it.